Make it 7 o'clock. Call to order the regular workshop of the Board of Trustees for January 13th, 2021. If you could just rise to pledge the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Did anybody hear from Mary Rice?
She was supposed to be here. I sent her the link and everything today. She was supposed to be here.
All right, well, we can kind of skip over that for now, and then we'll come back to her if she pops in. Let's see. Let's make sure nobody's in the waiting room. Discussion of the 2021 election and dates. Mindy, do you want to go into that?
Okay, so the official dates are the registration is going to be Saturday, March 6th, and the election is Tuesday. Where is it?
March 16th.
Yes, sorry. Tuesday, March 16th, and then Saturday, March 6th is registration. And I spoke to Gloria and Greta, and Gloria spoke with Judy, and they are all on board with doing our registration and everything this year. So at the next meeting, we need to do, the official resolution to, those dates, and then to appoint them. Other than that, we're even more confused about how many signatures we actually need on those sheets right now, because it's either one of two things from NICOM. I have to find out how many of our residents actually voted in the governor's election in 2018. And it's either a percentage of that number or a percentage of another number, whichever is lower, correct, Chris?
Correct.
Is the number that we're going to have to use.
So usually it's 5%, and due to COVID, they've decreased it to 3%.
3.33.
Basically, it's going to work out, hopefully, to be around 15 signatures, which is like a sheet and a half. So, not too demanding for anyone.
Right.
All right, so that's great. It looks like we're all on schedule for that. Anything else on election and dates?
No, I mean, if anybody needs that book, it's available, as to when the petitions need to be filed and stuff, all that is in there.
And it's right on the front page of the NICOM website too.
Okay.
And was it February 11 was the due date, or 17? February 17th?
Yes, it's February 11th.
11th.
Yeah, right before Valentine's Day.
Great. Invasives in the Nelsonville woods. Dove and Lisa. Dove, you sent me some pictures today. Was that to a text or an email?
I think I tried to send it via email to your trustee account.
Let me see if I can pull those up. If you want to discuss it, we can start that.
Okay, so just for some background, the Trail Committee is sort of in discussion about, in conversation, debating, yeah, there it is, Mike, how do we going forward sort of nurture young seedlings in an aesthetically amenable way, essentially. Some people on the Trail Committee and in the community have voiced displeasure on those blue tubes. I think that was something that took the village by surprise. That was an event from a couple of years ago that was primarily organized by the Girl Scouts, but involved a lot of different parties. And those tubes have just, even if you like the design of them, or you're okay with the blue plastic, they just fall over easily and they've been really hard to manage. Heidi and Joe have generously contributed some mesh protection, which I think is a lot more attractive than the blue plastic. These are being put on some, not all, just a small portion of the witch hazel, the 200 witch hazel that volunteers planted last spring. We had hoped that they were deer resistant, but I think the deer were just so hungry this summer that they were desperate, and so they started eating the buds of those. Excuse me. So Lisa, maybe you can, excuse me, Lisa had another idea, and I just happened to be at the Foundry this afternoon and saw some examples of it, so took some pictures, which is like sort of these group enclosures. Lisa, do you want to say something about that?
Yeah, no, I thought maybe a solution might be to erect a couple of deer exclosures and put the seedlings in there until they get to the point where they can be transplanted. And there are some advantages to doing it this way because they could be monitored. You could even have, Haldane involved. Taking measurements and seeing how fast they grow, growth rates, a whole bunch of different things. So you could involve other stakeholders in this idea as well. So, and it's only one spot, not all over the woods.
Yeah, so I kind of stepped on a landmine with this whole thing by expressing an opinion that I didn't really care for the aesthetics of the blue tubes. And while the discussion was going back and forth with the trail committee. So I think this is a great idea. Paul Helbach, who had started the conversation about the look of the tubes to begin with, he took it upon himself. He's located at least 3 different areas in our forest that there's enough space, level ground, the soil is right, and it's near a water source so that we could do something like this. I think we'd probably have to do something a little more substantial than what's in the picture, just because the deer are going to take that down easily up in the woods there. And it's not just the deer we have to worry about; it's foxes and bear and a lot of the great stuff that roam around back there. So I think that's a good solution to it. We just need to talk to Heidi, and I hope Heidi realizes that how appreciative everybody is for all the work that she's done back there, and that this is no reflection on any of that hard work. It's just, the blue tubes, especially, like you were saying, we don't even know half of them if they're protecting anything any longer because they've been blown over, they've been re-erected, they've been taken apart. So that's it.
Yeah, was Kathleen Foley involved in that with the Girl Scouts?
Yes.
It was, and it was also the trail committee, it was OSI, it was Hudson Highland. There were just so many partners. And overall, it was a great day. And those blue tubes came out at the end, and I think were a little bit of a surprise to us all.
I had left at lunchtime that day, and I came back at like 4:00, and I'm like, what is all this?
And then I thought, like maybe we'd need to have them up for a month or 2, but no, it was like in the years that they were recommending.
They want them there up to like 5 years to protect them until they get mature enough so that they can't be damaged when they're eaten. But yeah, I don't think they're going to last 5 years.
None of the tubes are yellow.
Yeah, they're the new ones that Heidi started to put at the Nelsonville trailhead on Secor.
Those are mesh, yeah.
When she told us that she planned to put 200 more of those out, we said just hold off for now and let's talk about this as a board and see how to go forward. So she's also going to look into some more a different species to plant that are more deer resistant.
Yeah, I think she mentioned something about the DEC. The DEC does give free plants out. I think they arrive in April.
Yeah.
You have to apply for them now, and I think she said she was going to do that. And they usually have a good mix of fairly deer-resistant plants.
One thing about these enclosures or exclosures, I'm not sure the proper term, is that actually planting the witch hazel was so difficult. As you might imagine, our terrain is just like impenetrable. And so I'm wondering if instead of trying to plant them in and then surrounding them, whether we could plant them in like 5-gallon bins for the first couple of years and keep them, right? So that would like save some of the labor, I think. And then we transport them from the gallon pot,
Interesting idea.
so that we sort of sidestep having to plant them in the ground twice.
Yeah, I think
The key to all of this, though, is going to be having someone like Heidi that kind of takes ownership of it. I remember when we had the tree farm down in the village of Cold Spring that we were supposed to grow trees for the streets and everything. It just got kind of left to waste because, people leave office and all that stuff. And so yeah, if Heidi wants to kind of spearhead this, I'm more than willing to set aside a little square of the forest to do this in. And, however she wants to do it, whether she wants to do it in 5-gallon buckets or something like that. The only thing with that is that they can walk away pretty easy.
That's what I was thinking.
Oh,
You also have to water them if they're in buckets very
That's true.
frequently during the summer.
Yeah.
yeah. We were supposed to water the witch hazel daily, which just became too much.
I mean, she was literally carrying buckets of water through the forest, and that's what Paul had seen her a couple times doing that, and so he made it a point to find places that are near natural water sources, so that we can either irrigate it somehow, or she can get water from there.
Oh, that would be great. I mean, it would be great if Heidi spearheaded, but I also feel like since it was Paul who really resisted this, the way that she was, doing it, that maybe if he wanted to spearhead this alternative.
Yeah, he definitely, I think he felt bad after the whole back and forth with the trail committee, so he kind of took it upon himself to go out there and find solutions for it.
Good.
He kind of started the problem, or didn't start the problem, but identified the issue. And like I said, I expressed an opinion on it and instantly regretted it.
Kelly made a good point. If those mesh were just like olive color, they would really blend in with the forest. I don't know why they make them in these bright colors.
Yeah, I think it's because the only place I've really seen these is like a newly constructed trail or something like that, where they want to draw attention to the fact that those are new seedlings, so they make them those colors. But I think for our purposes, like you said, if they were painted like an olive green, like a camouflage, it would blend in a lot more. And I mean, the mesh ones, if they were painted, I think it would be kind of the ideal solution if we were going to go down that road. But
yeah, I mean, maybe we could spray paint them olive green. That could also be an option, and see if that, is makes people feel better.
Why don't you connect with Heidi and ask her if we can do that as a test, maybe at that trailhead.
Yeah.
And that could be a temporary or a happy medium that just kind of makes them disappear more.
Mm-hmm.
All right, anything else on the blue tubes or the invasive species?
Well, just the seeding seeding invasives when people their yard waste into the woods. So
yeah,
that's an issue. So we may want to. We talked about no dumping signs. So.
Yeah, that's a definite issue still back here on Secor and Crown. There's one neighbor in particular who's responsible for the majority of it. Let's put it that way. So yeah, we need to work with Bill and have a letter sent maybe just to everyone in the neighborhood, just letting them know that that parcel is now part of the park, or it has always been a part of the park, but now that we're going to start enforcing the no dumping rules. And then maybe as one of our trail cleanups, we can work with our mark here at the highway and see if we can pull some of that, the dead trees and all that stuff that's been dumped back there. There's Christmas trees, there's shrubs, there's all that. And then working on signage I don't know, were you on the email, Lisa, with Will Neves from OSI with their sign people about the kiosks and all that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was going to give me some, point me in the right direction to some companies that could do some, no dumping signs and that kind of thing.
Did he
Uh,
did he get back to you at all about you had sent him something about the mesh in the woods and the blue tubes. Did he ever get back to you about that?
No, he didn't. We had gotten the guidance from the DEC about their plant day and all that, and then I never followed up with him on that specifically. He did get back to me. I think you saw about improving that section of trail behind the village parking lot. They're all ready to go with that. They're going to have to probably pay for the item 4 or whatever the gravel is that we're going to put in there. And then we need to get a hold of Mark maybe just to, use his machine for a morning and take care of it. But the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference said they're more than willing to come and oversee that whole thing.
That's awesome, Mike. Thanks for arranging that.
Yeah, that's great. And the tree the tree pickup
If we
was
want
great.
to say it again.
The Christmas tree pickup was great.
Yeah, no, that went well. But if you want to get in touch with the trail committee and maybe set up a date in the spring for a cleanup day, we'll coordinate that with this trail reconstruction project, and we can do that and a cleanup of Secor maybe on the same day. Anything else on Nelsonville Woods? Let's go to the short-term rental law update. Chris, who's been doing a monumental amount of work on this. When our lawyer answers us.
I had hoped or expected that I would have a final draft to pass on to everybody and be able to put on our website, but that's not what he gave me at 5 o'clock today. It still has track changes, and he added some things that I have questions about, not major, but and so the very short email he sent F5 made it sound like next step would be we would approve these track changes finally, and he would give us a clean copy soon. But I expected that was going to happen today. So we'll definitely, I presume, definitely have it by Monday, or Tuesday rather, for Tuesday's regular meeting. And I will send it out to all of you guys, and we'll put it up on our website as soon as we have the final draft.
Great.
From my perspective, can happen as early as tomorrow, but we'll see if Brian's able to make that happen.
And you attended the Village of Cold Spring meeting on this as well?
Dove and I attended the first meeting. They didn't get to it, and then Dove was able to attend the second meeting. Dove, I don't know if you want to give any updates from that and what they're planning.
Yeah, so they are, they've spent a long time revising this. I think it's been years in the making. But from what I was able to glean from the meeting, I've seen a draft of what Chris has been working with Brian on. The two villages seem to be very much aligned with the short-term rental regulations. There seem to be like minor discrepancies, but overall, I think we are both taking the same approach. So they haven't shared, I don't believe, on their website their draft copy or their most recent draft copy. So it's really, just from listening to the meeting. So I don't want to speak with any authority about what Cold Spring is doing, but it seems to me that at least we're following the same process and considering the same regulations.
Yeah. And it seemed like they were going to be talking about it again soon, right? Like they're just kind of keeping at it until they, at this point, now that it's kind of on the table again for them.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think that's great that we're doing it kind of simultaneously. And we're, you know, happy to share ours with them when we get it finalized. And they, you know, they have different residential districts differently than we do, so they have different considerations. But I think overall, I think we have a really good draft, and obviously when we discuss it on Tuesday, you know, I'm asking, but I would presume we would all like have a chance to look at it before Tuesday, and we can like kind of walk through it section by section if you guys want to do it that way, or I could give a general summary or for the public. But if you guys can come prepared with like your questions, and if there's anything I can't answer, we'll bring it back to Brian to work out.
Yeah, let's see how soon he gets us the draft. If we can all get it before the weekend and review it, or even on Sunday and review it by Tuesday, we'll do a more in-depth dive. But if we don't get it till Monday or Tuesday, then we'll the proverbial punt to the next meeting.
And then what would follow would be public hearings, right? So we wouldn't adopt anything at this moment.
No.
Right. Yeah. I think we need at least 2 opportunities for the public to.
For a local law, this major, definitely 2 different meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get any sense from the Cold Spring meeting whether they're going to do anything with owner occupancy?
I think it's going to, yes. There was discussion about it being primary residency.
Okay.
I think maybe we might be defining that a little bit differently in terms of days in residence. The draft that Chris is working on is defining it, I think, according to New York State tax code, which is it 184 days?
Yeah, that's what we have in ours currently. It's 185 a year, which would be half the year.
Yeah.
At least. I don't, you know, and that kind of gets to, you actually have to have been a resident at least half the year. If you're buying a property just to do this, then you're not going to be a resident half the year. So that's kind of answer is the must actually be a resident to let out your space.
And I'd had a conversation with a former resident that now lives up in Shroom Lake, and she had sent me a newspaper article that all of the Adirondack villages and towns are now doing the same thing. Lake Placid just put a law into effect in March that effectively prevents, you know, non-owner occupancy from buying a house and using it solely for Airbnb up there, which is kind of surprising because when you think of the Adirondacks, that's like the vacation home kind of capital. But yeah, so it's everywhere, and you know, I think it's good that we're both us and the Village of Cold Spring doing this at the same time, so that it doesn't leave one or the other kind of in a lurch and drive all of the, you know, Airbnb speculation to one village or the other. Anything else on short-term rentals?
I mean, if anybody has any questions that you want to ask now, I'm happy to discuss it, but it might be just easier to read it and come back and do it together.
I mean, we've just for complete transparency, we've had a few questions from the public in regards to why we're doing this. And, you know, I tell everybody we are going to have public hearings. Everyone will have a chance to be heard on this. And it's not aimed at one property or one individual or anything like that. It's just, we saw that as COVID came and the lockdown and people were still using Airbnbs, it, you know, made a couple uncomfortable situations in the village. And before that, we've been looking into this because, you know, it's, again, it does have the possibility of ruining neighborhoods as you would get these kind of hotel houses with nobody living there and, you know, nobody contributing to the community, that kind of thing. So everyone will have a chance to speak at least 2 times on this, if not more, including the survey that went out, and I think we've done our due diligence. I don't see Mary Rice, so I mean, we can discuss the village green quickly with the lighting and the pruning and things that need to happen. I think we're all in agreement that, you know, we need to prune back some of the trees there to make it so that the lights function properly with the solar panels. We do kind of need to make a decision. I haven't gotten any response back from Central Hudson in regards to possibly disabling some of the lights, if that's even possible. But I mean, if we're all in agreement, I think we'll have them at least do 3 or 4 of those lights there as LEDs to, you know, so that we kind of keep the costs the same as we switch over. Last meeting, we went into that whole billing thing that's been going on for since the park was built, basically, where we're not being billed at full cost for those lights that are there now. So that now that we want to switch to more efficient LEDs, the cost is actually going to go up for us. So maybe if we eliminate 1 or 2 of the lights, you know, we could leave the poles there, but just deactivate them and, you know, have the more efficient LEDs on just the corners or something like that. If anyone has any thoughts on that, Dave?
That sounds like a good idea. That's a better idea than, you know, if they're going to double the cost, if we just have them fix the lights with the LEDs, because right now it's 12, it's 26 the other way, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
So it kind of doubles. So, I mean, like you say, if you get rid of half of them, that should be good. And we get the trees pruned, because that's what the Central Hudson guys told me. The trees are creating the problem in the summertime because when they get green, they make it very dark in there, and the lights go on and stay on all day.
Yeah.
So we just have to get Mary Rice to, you know, give the okay on, or however we want to do for pruning them.
Yeah, I'm gonna put her in touch with Mark and see if they can work together on this. You know, it's not just the big trees that need to be pruned. Some of the other bushes and shrubs that were planted there originally, a couple of them may be dead. A couple of them just need to be cut back. So we'll just do one kind of thorough pruning of the entire park. And we also had a discussion of doing some kind of game bench or something in there at some point. That's just another idea for the springtime we'll talk about. Just to kind of make that park so it's more functional.
Mhm.
Can I ask a quick question about the lights? So
Yeah.
Is the whole lamp fixture going to change with the LED or just the light bulb?
Just the tops. Right, Dave?
Yeah, just the top, because they own the poles. So I don't know if they would bring in, you know, I don't think they'd bring in something like Cold Spring has those little 3-footers at the dock. I don't
No,
think that would work.
Those ballasts at the dock were real expensive, and I think they were paid for by the village. That wasn't.
Yeah, that's a big, yeah.
And I mean, those are waterproof so that they can go underwater and all that stuff.
Yeah, I think the way I mean, the big ones work. It's just that they don't go off.
Yeah.
The fixture design, though, is kind of elegant. I kind of like that. So if we could preserve that and just change the light bulb, that would
Yeah, to the white light.
Yeah, that's the assumption that I'm under, is that it's just a change of the actual bulb enclosure. It's not going to be, you know, chopping the tops off of them or anything like that. And I'll make sure of that before we do anything with it.
Great, thanks.
Anything else on anything that's on the agenda or anything else in general?
Yes, Michael, I wanted to ask you, you seem to be the spearhead for Optimum. What happened? You know, I didn't realize when I couldn't call my family members in Alaska, California on Christmas, how much it affected older people and the younger ones.
Yeah.
When you wrote about your son not being able to speak to his grandmother, it really hit home. And I was happy to see that you contacted them. Has it amounted to anything, Michael?
Nope, absolutely nothing.
And
I mean, well, yes and no. So it's been the two last major holidays we had an internet outage at my house. It was Thanksgiving and Christmas. The one on Thanksgiving, I ended up writing our like customer service rep that deals with the village, and he had somebody come out to the house and, you know, do the typical stuff, and, you know, they changed this out and that out. And then he tells me he needs to redo the lines to the pole and all this stuff. And I said, all right, well, we'll do it. Whatever you got to do to make this work. So they did everything short of change the line to the pole. So then the Christmas outage happened, and I complain again. I get a hold of them. And then I start diving into their social media from all over the Northeast. And you see where people are writing the exact same thing in every single community, is that when are you going to shape up and fix the nodes, which are the major issue with all these communities, and they're outdated and it's 20-year-old technology. So it's everywhere. The only real hope that we have here for any kind of lasting fix to this is when this major project they're doing makes its way up the valley. It's somewhere like down around Ossining right now. And they're saying that it'll be up here probably by the summertime. Basically, they're switching out all their fiber optics and replacing all of their nodes and all the communities and all their connection hardware and switches and things like that. So, I mean, short answer for, is that no, they have no long-term answer for this. And basically, that was the perfect storm on Christmas. They didn't have anybody around. They were short-staffed for COVID. It was a holiday.
I have some excuse.
Yeah. So, I mean, just today, it went out 3 times while I'm working from home. I mean, I reboot my modem here more times than it's functional, basically.
I lost it once today.
Yeah, the power went out today, too. I don't know.
Yes,
what
it did.
Yeah, that was
Everywhere.
brief. What was that for,
No,
Everywhere.
no. I mean, it was like a 10-second outage, but still, it's enough to knock everything offline and have to bring everything back up. Any other questions or topics you want to discuss? Nothing, Gloria?
Like they did
No,
put
thank
that
you.
light out in front of my house over the weekend.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to go up there, but I've heard from everyone that it improves the intersection greatly. So
Big time.
thank you for doing that. I mean, it helps you out, but it helps out everybody too. So nothing else. Just let everybody know our building inspector is down visiting family in Virginia or North Carolina.
Virginia.
Yeah, due to COVID, regulations in terms of quarantining and all that, he's going to be out until the 22nd, I believe. But he is
26.
available.
26.
So he is available on phone and email, but he won't be physically in the office until then. Just out of an abundance of safety. So. Nothing else? All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'd make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Bye.
Have a good weekend, everybody. I'll see everyone on
Have a good
Tuesday.
weekend. Night now.
You
Good
too.
night.
Take care, everybody.
Hi.
Night.